All right, there we go. What a lovely oscilloscope. I decided to kind of use it like it's supposed to be used. I've got five probes here, oscilloscope probes on the input, and I'm looking at a complex waveform. And so this is a battery-powered DC to DC converter. So it has two sections. It has a board over here that's kind of hard to see, but there's a USB to battery charger, lithium charger. So that little board is a lithium charger. The blue thing here is a lithium battery. And then there's a boost converter on it that takes the battery power and boosts it to 12 volts, okay? And then I've got a dummy load I can put on the 12 volts to load things down. Yeah, so you can take a look at things going on here. We've got the green line, channel 2 is the output. The one with some, stop it. The one with some ringing is the DC to DC converter running. And then we have the beige trace here, which is the input, the USB input. And then the blue trace is, which one is the blue trace? Blue trace is the output of the lithium charger, okay? So this is the input to the lithium, that's the output to the lithium, this is the output of the whole device. And then the yellow trace is an extra one that I can go around and probe with. All right, so we'll go ahead and run this thing, and you can see it kind of jiggly around there. So I could reach over and I can turn off the, you see the beige one sort of disappeared. That's the input to the charger. So now it's running off of batteries only, okay? So you can see things going on here. And then I can turn on my, my DC load. Let me go ahead and put in 100 milliamps. So now we're drawing 100 milliamps and the waveform changed. It doesn't have that ringing anymore because it's got some somewhere for the energy to go. It's not just floating in space. It's actually being clamped and taking up current. So that's what we're getting now. If I turn off the input, now it's running on batteries alone. The blue trace you can ignore because that's just floating in space now because there's no battery attached. So you can see that our voltage has dropped down. So this is with and without. And now we're getting some more bumpiness in the output, which is the green trace, because the battery can't be replenished quick enough. There's no charger, it's just the battery itself. So anyway, yeah, you can see a lot of things here playing with the thing. Anyway, I just thought I would hook up something that it was kind of complicated and just kind of see what there is to see. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Let's get some ringing again. All right. And I was having troubles triggering nicely on this ringing edge here. Sometimes it wouldn't catch exactly where I wanted to catch. And you can set up zone triggering. This thing has a zone trigger, all right? And let's see here. You could do something like add a zone trigger, and then you can just source on C3, and you can just kind of draw a box out in space here. Okay, we'll put a box here, and this zone here, you say must not intersect. If you say must intersect, then it won't trigger right. And it's waiting for a trigger. It must not, then you can't have anything in that zone. You can have multiple zones. You can have, dependencies on different zones and stuff. So it's pretty nice that way. What else have I learned about it? I complained that these LEDs were super, super bright. There's a setting, and I have them set at a lower, like 25% brightness now, so that worked out good. I do like the display. The reason I was getting reflections in the first display is it still had the protective film on it, which I removed. So now it's nice and matte, and there's no stray reflections. It's photographing really well now, I think. Hopefully you guys can see that. So yeah, screen is super nice. The text is really, really, really clear. I do like the output of this thing. It has a nice large and wide display, which is good for an oscilloscope. Let's see here. Let me talk about the probes since we're here. I did have to calibrate them. They have the little adjustment screw on each scope probe, and there's a compensation pulse here, and I went and I tweaked all of them to get flatness out of them. But I did notice one strange thing about the probes, which I'd never seen before. So let's go ahead and pull one of these off here. Yeah, so this is the first channel, and it's pretty small. It's a nice light small probe, so I like that aspect of it. The other aspect that's really interesting, and these are replaceable. I won't do it, but each probe comes with a replacement tip. That's nice. That Tektronix used to do that all the time. They'd give you extra ones, but this one, I'm not going to show this on camera, but it's spring-loaded. It's a pogo pin. And that's really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen an off-the-shelf scope probe that has a pogo pin on the probe. So, yeah, that's different. Right at this present time, I have to be honest, it's kind of a love-hate thing. Sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. Obviously, if you just compress it, it turns into a normal probe. But it does have to be, I think it's really good if you're probing really, really small circuits, surface mount circuits and stuff, where you kind of want to get in there really. So it's a very, very fine tip, and it's loaded, spring loaded, so it makes it really, really easy. For just normal stuff, it's kind of, my brain still wants to have something rigid there, so there'll be a learning curve getting used to the spring. And then, of course, once you put one of these guys on it, then it's just the same as any other probe. But yeah, just an interesting observation that RNS has.